Hello, podcast listeners. You are now listening to the Coffee, Health, and Science Podcast. I'm your host, Jordan River, and I want to thank you for tuning in today. Before we get started, I urge you, share the Coffee, Health, and Science Podcast. Spread the show. It's how we grow. Hit subscribe so you catch every single episode. We will be here every Saturday. Today, we have a return guest. He is a board-certified pediatrician. He is an allergy specialist. He's so much more. We have Dr. Layton back on the line. How you doing, Dr. Layton?
I'm here. Good to be here.
The unflappable Dr. Layton here to talk again about allergies. Really interesting subject. We went pretty deep last time, but we're going to go deeper, talk about some of the same issues, talk about the elimination diet, food diaries, a lot of good stuff in this episode. Dr. Layton, let's just start from the beginning. Kind of a recap, also more of a deeper exploration. Talk to us about the elimination diet and specifically why it's important, these hidden food allergies.
Before I get into how to do the elimination diet, two very important concepts to understand why this can be so helpful. The first is hidden food allergies. So if someone is having problems, fatigue, headache, mood swings, insomnia, if you eat the same food every day, it's hidden and you're not going to be able to pick up the problem. That's the benefit of the elimination diet and a food diary. The second concept is allergy versus a hypersensitivity. Now, allergies obviously would include severe life-threatening reactions to foods such as peanut, tree nuts, egg, shellfish. But other foods can be a true food allergy. Actually, more common than that is a hypersensitivity, which would not show up in allergy testing, whether it's by blood or skin, but someone who's hypersensitive to a food. So the problem with the food allergy is if you eat it every day, you need the elimination diet.
So what is the medical definition or difference between an allergy and a hypersensitivity? Is it like a histamine thing, or how does that work?
Well, allergy is IgE based, and we have mast cells that are generally accepted to be in the eyes, nose, skin, and lungs. So someone who is practicing allergy, who is by the book, double-blind studies, 3 years of residency learning about this, basically would accept the fact that people have nasal, eye, skin, lung allergies, which are called allergic rhinitis for the nose, conjunctivitis for the eye, atopic dermatitis or eczema, skin, and asthma for the lungs. Hypersensitivity, which actually is being more accepted now, but I think we're a good 10 years away from full acceptance, because I've read from the mainstream journals about allergies and hypersensitivities do not absolutely have to be IgE related. So that's just coming out, but not generally accepted. The best example I can give you is a child I started seeing at age 3 who, when he was even exposed to corn, not only ingesting it, but in different products to cleaners, would act autistic, and the mother picked it up, and the allergist didn't accept it because it didn't show up by blood or skin testing, but it was obvious to his parents as well as myself they had a corn problem, but it was more of a hypersensitivity, and that's the better value from an elimination diet.
Wow.
Is
Corn?
picking up the hypersensitivities.
Wow.
Corn's an example, but
Sure.
someone may have the symptoms I mentioned from a food hypersensitivity, but may not be able to pick it up without doing an elimination diet.
What about gluten insensitivity? Is that an allergy?
Well, gluten is very interesting. There are people who have celiac disease that are obviously very reactive to gluten, but in recent years, it's accepted that someone can have a gluten problem that can be picked up by blood tests, but also I think it's underdiagnosed for people who are allergic to gluten, which is primarily wheat, but it's also in other grains. My opinion, oats, someone don't agree with me. Barley is a common one. And you see the number of restaurants gluten-free, even Tito's beer is gluten-free. So more and more of the population is picking up that they may have a gluten allergy, a gluten hypersensitivity, but don't necessarily have celiac disease.
Right. That's what I've seen and experienced in people in my family and peers, having a wide array of reactions, right? I think this is why the medical community doesn't like it. It's this personalized medicine, which is really what we're learning more and more about here. Some people get just fatigue from gluten. Some people get pain, like muscle pain and headaches and real consequences, symptoms that hurt.
Jordan, you have it right.
It's bizarre.
I agree.
Should we move into the elimination diet?
That's fine.
Yeah,
that's
this specifically designed food protocol to eliminate these likely causers of these problems, and then introduce them one at a time back to kind of see which ones. Is that the general idea?
That's a general idea. I'm going to go into it now. There's the single food elimination diet. Individuals should make a list of foods they suspect that are suspicious, and so don't go into the most likely ones, but a suspicious food should be one of the ones that are done first. So with the single food elimination diet, the individual would eliminate, I'm used to saying patients, the individual would eliminate that food for 1 week. And I can cover it here. The most likely ones are milk, wheat, which we just mentioned, corn, egg, soybean, a crave food. So someone who loves a certain food, there's a better chance that food does not like the individual. There are additives, red, yellow dyes, colorings. We've covered this before. Those are the more common ones, but I would add to that any suspicious foods. And for someone having joint pain, nightshades, tomato, potato, eggplant, and bell pepper are other foods that should be eliminated. Oh, wow. So the way to do this, is take out one food at a time for 1 week. That's the elimination. And then after 1 week, a food challenge. And it's adding the food back. This is the way to deal with the hidden food allergies, which I mentioned at the beginning of the podcast. You add one food back, such as milk, a half a glass of milk, or wheat, a slice of bread. So what many individuals will find out is by taking the food out for 1 week, you get rid of the hidden food allergy, hypersensitivity. Adding it back, it's a challenge. The symptoms can be immediate, which can occur with food pure allergy as well as the hypersensitivities. The delayed reactions can be up to 24, 36 hours. Some individuals even longer than that. That's more of the food hypersensitivity. So that's how to do a single food elimination diet.
Wow, that's crazy because I have so many things to focus in on. But first, that delay you talked about, that's really important. Sometimes you eat something that you're sensitive to and you're not getting symptoms for 24, 36 hours. You have to keep track. You should probably be keeping a journal of some kind.
Very important to keep a food diary. You're stealing some of my thunder, but I was going to get to that. But yeah, it's very important to keep a food diary. It's very helpful when one has symptoms, head to toe, and keeping a food diary, you may see the same food pop up more than once. That's the beauty of a food diary.
I wanted to dig in on the crave foods. Again, that's one of the things we covered in both these episodes, but I'm so fascinated by it. Why is it that the ones that we crave most are often problems? I know you said it oftentimes constitutes what's in that food that we're craving. It's full of additives that we crave. But is that all there is to it? Like, that's bizarre. It almost seems counter Darwinian. You understand what I'm saying?
I think to find the answer, most people, including myself, wouldn't want to lose a crave food. But if you're having major symptoms, migraines, fatigue, anxiety, mood swings, brain fog, then it's worth it. I would even think about it as an addiction.
Oh, absolutely.
That's the best way to think about it, to take it on like, I like my drink, but if I had to give it up, I would avoid it for a week and then see if I had symptoms from it. Fortunately, I don't.
You crack me up, man. You're such a great guest. The crave food thing always stood out to me because I see it in my kids, I see it in myself, and it's just fascinating. When you mention suspicious foods, is that kind of what you're talking about? Things that you're incorporating a lot of in your diet, things that you tend to crave. What else? Yeah, that sort of thing.
Yeah, and I would even think of our children with these additives, the red, yellow, orange, green dye. They're horrible foods. And when people say my child reacts to sugar, that may be the case, but it may be an artificial flavoring. If anybody is drinking diet this, diet that, they're better off with the sugar.
Yeah, I hear that over and over.
The MSG, especially the aspartame, is, if I'm going to drink a Coca-Cola, which is maybe 3-6 times a year, I'm going to have a Coca-Cola. I'm not going to drink diet.
I've heard so many doctors say that, and aspartame, or tame, however you pronounce it, in particular, was not allowed for the longest time, and then reintroduced a couple decades ago under they switched to some FDA guy, and it's just, we know it's not good for you. The MSG though, that is you might be surprised, Dr. Layton. That's a hot topic. A lot of people are like, oh no, you're just allergic. There's nothing wrong with MSG. You're just allergic. You're sensitive to it. It's a perfectly fine compound to ingest. What would you say to that? Would you say that, yes, it's just some people, or would you recommend that most people stay away from MSG?
I think try to limit as much as possible. When you go to a restaurant, you have to wonder, what are you being fed? But I don't know that you have to totally avoid it, but limiting MSG is important. Aspartame I would eliminate. It should not be FDA approved, bottom line.
Right. Yeah, that's what I've been told by smarter people than I, doctors like you. And if you look into history, like I said, it was not approved for the longest time. And now we're drinking it again. And I feel like I don't want to get off on a tangent here, but I think that you'll agree with this. When we switched to non-fat, non-sugar, everyone just got more unhealthy and more obese. Did you not observe that as well?
I agree.
It's bizarre.
But it's beyond the weight, which I'm veering off. But if you look at this horrible COVID nightmare that we're still experiencing, someone who's overweight is more likely to get COVID.
Yeah. Yep. Have worse symptoms.
And it's not stressed enough.
That's so true. It's refreshing to hear a doctor like you say that, because you're right. We all kind of have to take control of our own health, and that's a big part of diet too. And talking about this elimination diet, that is a form of taking control of your own health and kind of becoming your own doctor and your own, what did you call it? Kind of medical detective. Yeah,
I think, again, you're stealing my thunder. We're covering this, but it's very important.
Just trying to set you up.
That individuals do not sell themselves short. You don't have to be a physician to be a medical detective. And that goes not only for yourself, but your families. I have found it's so great to have practiced for as long as I did, to work with parents who were medical detectives and came to me. And the most intelligent thing about me is listening. I've always listened to patients because they're living it. So my job has been listen, interpret. Don't be a know-it-all doctor. And not every doctor is a know-it-all, but too many are.
Man, you tell it like it is. It's like,
yes, I do.
You do. And you're laconic. You know what that means? You're laconic. Yeah, it's like it's a reference to the Lacedaemonians, the Spartans. It's short and to the point. I love it, man.
Okay.
Shoot. Okay. That's a compliment, Dr. Layton. Listen, man, I got to ask you this because I think I asked you last show, but I didn't get a direct answer. Talking about allergies, it is the Coffee Health and Science podcast. You hear about people who are allergic to shellfish. It's all the time. You eat it, their face blows up. It's terrible. They have to avoid it. Have you ever heard of somebody that's allergic to coffee? Not sensitive to caffeine, but if they drink coffee, they have an allergic reaction of some kind?
No.
Is that not bizarre to you?
I've had some patients who tested positive, but it's actually, I'm not just saying it because it's your podcast, it's actually a great food. It's actually a great food. I mean, you know much more about this than I did, but I really didn't pick this up till I talked to you and the group we're in, My Healthy Patient. That's really a great food.
It truly is.
So I think it's one of the, there aren't many safe foods. I think it's a safe food.
That's crazy. I think it's bizarre because I hear people allergic to all sorts of things. You know what I mean? You're telling me you've never seen someone that's been allergic to brewed coffee? That's bizarre.
But I had children who had ADHD.
Sure. Who
their ADHD improved with coffee. That goes back a long way.
Whoa.
Now there's more and more that it's good for our brains, which I'm sure you cover endlessly, but it's something that I've learned, joining the group and talking to you. So by all means, everybody keep drinking your coffee.
That's wild, man. That is a good way to cap this off here. Thank you, Dr. Layton, for this awesome exploration.
I want to cover one other thing.
Oh, sure. I thought that was all we had. Yeah, please.
Yeah, the multiple food allergies, a multiple food elimination diet. I mean,
sure. I'm sorry.
The way to do this is for someone who's really motivated, who wants to do this and find it after 3 or 6 foods, is you take the 3 or 6 foods that you're concerned about, eliminate them for 2 weeks, not 1 week, then add one back weekly. And again, it's more difficult, but if you want to find more than one food at a time, that's the way to do it. I think we covered everything else. The food diary, being your own medical detective is very important. So I think that covers what I wanted to talk about today.
Awesome, Dr. Layton. Again, like you said, that kind of the multiple elimination diet takes more discipline, but what a game changer that can be. Just getting off of those food groups that we rely on so much, or not even food groups, just food products that we rely on so much, specifically the ones you mentioned, like soy, corn, milk, wheat. These aren't staples of our diet. You can get by with them for a little. You can get by without them for a little while. Reincorporate them, see what happens. I love it, man. I absolutely love the message. Now, what do you got going on? I mean, usually we give out plugs at the end. You're just doing your thing. You're doing God's work. You're spreading the word. You're working with My Healthy Patient, of course, with me and Dr.
Working with My Healthy Patient, which is a wonderful group, and I've met some wonderful individuals in this group. So it keeps my medical brain going. I love doing the podcast. Awesome. And if anybody wants to email me, I'm fine with that. And
throw it out there. What's your address?
My email, because I never grew up, and I'll be 78 tomorrow. So for you, always be a kid. It's great. That's why I love being a pediatrician. But my email is Dickie, DICKIE, LAYTON @gmail.com, all lowercase. So I love to help people with their health situation. And so by all means, you can email me. I look forward to helping.
Thank you, Dr. Layton. I appreciate it so much. And
okay.
Thank you, listeners. We'll see you next time. We're signing off saying have an extraordinary day. Bye-bye, everybody.